Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday, May 18th of 2020. I hope you had a lovely weekend, and I don't know about you, but I'm ready to kick off the week. So this week, I ran into some printer issues, so I'm just going to describe Monday's number talk for you, and it's just like it's been every other week up to this point. It's find what is missing on Monday. Find what's missing. So in the units column, it is subtraction equations, and you should be able to use subtraction finger chart. You could also use your small or large bead frame or stamp game for that. The blue column has some larger subtraction problems, all of which can be done with the stamp game, small bead frame, large bead frame, or paper and pencil. And getting into that red hundreds column, we have some division equations with some numbers missing. Could either be the dividend, the divisor, or the answer or the quotient. That can be used with the unit division board or any of our other memory math facts. For this week, we are going to be studying a gentleman by the name of Confucius. And the story we're going to read is called The Value of Honesty. So let's jump right in, shall we? Just get my camera right. The Value of Honesty, a tale about Confucius. Hello, I'm Sage. You might expect me to say, "Whoo, whoo," like most owls do. But I also ask, where, when, how, what, and why. I knew a boy who grew to become one of the most famous people in history because he was so wonderfully honest. Who? His name was Confucius. Where? He lived in China. When? Over 2,500 years ago. How? Do I know it? Well, that's easy. You can imagine me as his true voice, the voice inside Confucius that helped him listen to his best thoughts and guided him on his path. Confucius started his journey when he was not much older than you. What did he do? Well, let's find that out together. Once upon a time in the Chinese province of Lu, there was a little boy named Confucius. His father was an old man when Confucius was born, and he was happy to have a son so late in life. His father would often tell Confucius how proud he was of him and how certain he was that his son would grow into a wise and an honest person. Confucius loved his father dearly. But all too soon his elderly or older father died, and it was very difficult for Confucius and his mother. Confucius was sad, but he was determined. Who else do we know that was determined? Was it Helen Keller? Confucius was sad, but also determined to become the man his father hoped he would be, and the person he himself wanted to become, a wise and honest man. This is where I, Sage, come in. Of course, Confucius couldn't really see me, but I'm a fun way to imagine him listening to that good voice inside him, his true voice. One day, little Confucius wondered, how do I become wise? I appeared and answered, Hello, my name is Sage. You have already begun. Ask yourself, what is true? In truth, you will find honesty, and in honesty, you will find the best answers. Then Confucius replied, I like to read books because sometimes I find answers there. That is great, I replied, but not all wisdom is found in books. You can also learn much by watching and listening. And Confucius did learn by reading, watching, and listening. When the time came, Confucius got his first job tending cattle. How do I do it, Sage? He asked. I've never done that before. Ask yourself, what is true? I whispered. Said Confucius. Maybe I could find what it is. Maybe I could find what is true by imagining how I would like to be treated if I were an animal, and I could treat them in a similar way. What do you see Confucius doing? He's imagining what the cattle would like. Glass of tea, being fanned, lying on a comfy cushion. Confucius laughed at what he imagined and realized he needed to find ways to do his job that were practical. And so he did. He took care of the cows the way he would have liked to be taken care of. The cattle grew happy and healthy and multiplied, and the owner was so pleased that he gave Confucius a new job, measuring and selling grain. On his first day, selling grain to the townspeople, Confucius was given some advice from a dishonest seller. There's no need to put a full measure of grain into the bag. No one will ever know, and you'll make more money like I do. But I whispered in Confucius's other ear, what is true? Confucius smiled as he listened to himself. I would like to be treated honestly, he said. So I will be honest with others. Then he filled his sacks with a full measure of grain. Do you think Confucius felt good when he was honest? Word of Confucius's honesty spread, and many people admired him. One day, a wealthy man asked Confucius if he would become a teacher for his son. Confucius said that he would be willing to teach all who were interested in learning, but that he would only charge those whose fathers had money to pay, while other children would be able to attend his school for free. Confucius never shouted or scolded his students, but when they misbehaved, he would send them away. I will not force anyone to listen to me, he would often say. Do you think it is good to listen? Whoa. Confucius's fame as a great teacher spread, and he would often travel to give his lessons. In those days, people traveled by foot, so Confucius would walk far and wide to spread his teachings. Last week we learned about an animal that often would help with travel such as this. Can you think of that animal? Confucius gathered many followers, read in many libraries, and even studied music. He learned to play an instrument and how to sing more than 300 songs. Do you think it might be fun to learn to play music and sing? Maybe you'll tune into the music lessons later this week if you can. Once on his travels, though, something terrible happened. Confucius came to a city where he was mistaken for a man who looked a little bit like him, but who was an evil bandit who had robbed the people before. The people of the city captured Confucius and threw him in a dark and dirty jail. You are an honest man, Confucius, and surely they will release you, I said to him. Confucius smiled as he listened to himself. He trusted that his honesty would set him free. And it did. Confucius's reputation for honesty had spread so far that people came from all over to speak up on his behalf. The people of the city were so impressed that they let Confucius go. By your being honest, I said to Confucius, others have gone out of their way to speak the truth about you. Confucius's reputation grew so large that he was called back to his home province of Lu, and made governor. There he put his teachings into practice by dealing with everyone honestly. Because the government dealt with them honestly, the people of Lu became more honest with each other, and Lu became a happier place to live. By listening to his true voice, Confucius not only made himself happier, but everyone around him became happier too. Are you happier when you are honest? And when people are honest with you? Even when he was very old, Confucius continued to teach. He would do it by asking his followers questions. The words integrity and honesty both mean telling the truth. Confucius would say, "Can anyone tell me which of these must always come first, integrity or honesty?" One person replied, "Integrity means telling the truth first to yourself, while honesty means telling the truth then to others." I hooted, "Woo!" to Confucius. "People are learning so much from you." Here's sage while Confucius is teaching. Today, China, like the rest of the world, has changed in many ways, but the wisdom of Confucius is still being learned. One of his many famous sayings was, "Do not impose on others what you do not wish for yourself." Known as the Golden Rule, this phrase is still used today. You might have heard it worded slightly differently. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Do unto others the way you'd hope them to do unto you. Now, as our story ends, you might want to think about yourself. Does being honest make good sense to you? What you decide to do with your life may be different from the path that Confucius chose, but whatever you choose, you may discover that when you are honest with yourself and with others, you can be happier too. Just like our good friend, Confucius. So, we just heard a little bit about Confucius, our friend who valued honesty and lived it out in his life. We'll continue to look at this value and to explore our story elements through these other morning greetings. But to wrap up, I will read the clue from Friday, because I know many of you are wondering, who am I? If you recall, my skin is covered with leathery scales that are ridged along my back. I have a long, flat head with strong jaws and many sharp teeth. Short, sturdy legs allow me to move rapidly on land, while my massive tail is used for a rudder and makes me a strong swimmer. I live in warm, moist climates. When rivers are dry, I estivate, which is like a form of hibernation. Who am I? If you guessed the crocodile, you are correct. Crocodiles and alligators are very similar. The main difference is where they live. Crocodiles live in salt water, like seas and oceans, and where that water from the sea and ocean makes its way inland into some marshes and swamps. And alligators tend to be freshwater, such as the water you'd find in rivers and lakes. Anyway, we have gotten to the end of our animal matching cards, so for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to read you descriptions of biomes. And I wonder if you can tell me where I am. So for today, and I won't show you the card because the color will give it away. This biome receives less than 10 inches of rain per year. Often, these biomes are covered with sand and are hot and dry. However, there are also cold versions of this biome called tundras. Most plants in this biome are called succulents and can store water for long periods of time. Where am I? Tune in tomorrow to review our number talk more about Confucius, and review where in the world we just were. Have a great Monday, everyone.